speaking about families and workplaces,
Uh-oh.
we talk about the Meta lawsuit. And she was there. This woman was at Meta since 2009.
Please do.
So I just saw this morning. This woman worked, so she was a really early employee at Meta. She ended up jumping around across a bunch of different teams. Her very first job, I think she was, or her first role, one of her supervisors or someone on her team grabbed her crotch. And then a couple of years later, her manager asked her to come to his hotel room, like things you've probably heard a billion times. But she stuck it out and she thought that it would always be better being able to turn it, from the inside out, to be able to
Fair.
like influence from the inside. She was good at her job, so she kept advancing and accelerating. And then finally, a couple of years ago, she started working when Mark Zuckerberg was all about the metaverse. I mean, I don't know where this metaverse is,
It's
but
gone.
they were all pivoting to it. So she started working on that as a marketing manager. So she was supposed to market this, whether this VR goggle world to everybody. And she had some concerns that underage kids were getting into the metaverse and that there was a lot of racism in this metaverse. And she raised some concerns, and they were basically like, we don't want you in meetings anymore. Didn't fire her, but just iced her out. We don't, oh yeah, we're taking that off your calendar. You're not on that email. Remove her from that email. And she ended up having suicidal thoughts and having to go to a doctor who diagnosed her with PTSD, and she left, and now she is suing them for sex discrimination. But I thought it was interesting how long she lasted before she had this moment. Like her brain couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. Well, so she's not just suing for gender discrimination. She's also suing for sexual assault.
And sexual, yes, yeah, gender,
Um,
yeah,
I think a key thing is so like she lasted a long time, but if she joined Meta in 2009 and she exited in 2024, she is functionally a millionaire, I suspect, based on the limited knowledge that I have of the equity arrangements at Meta back in the day. She would be a millionaire many times over. So like that's
yep,
compelling, but I think it's very telling, even in light of becoming a millionaire many times over,
yeah,
she was still fighting back, pushing back. Hey, this is racist. Hey, you can't talk to me this way. And then it's a great example. So in context, you have a somewhat powerful millionaire getting isolated, and it still impacts her. She's not
mhm,
insulated by her money. Isolation is a killer form of retaliation. Like it's,
mhm,
and people will not give it its due. There, when you
yeah,
isolate a human being, there is something primal that happens to that human being.
yep,
Because we all, I don't want to like be pop sci about it, but like we all lived in tribes
yeah,
40,000 years ago. And if you got isolated, you died at
yeah,
the time. And, or some other tribe did horrible things to you, like whatever it was, right?
right,
And we all live that way still today. It's still in us. So when you isolate someone, probably had a great home, probably has a sick car, millionaire, probably doing lots of things she feels great about, right? Lots of options about where to work. It still gets to her. How telling is
mhm,
that? And people over and over and over again are like, no, it's just isolated. They just didn't want her in the meeting. Okay. They
mhm,
didn't want her in any meeting.
mhm. It's really
Right.
sadistic the more you think about it, because they want the person to leave first. So they torture them through this isolation. This happened to me once, where I didn't really know what was happening in real time, and I was basically compartmentalizing all my emotions, but I was told, "Oh, you're asking too many questions." There were two founders of this project. One just didn't wanna talk to me. Someone said he felt uncomfortable making eye contact with me, which is a whole other situation. Um, but so it was him first, and then some other guy didn't wanna have meetings with me, and then people started taking over parts of my job, and I was just sitting there. And then one day, it was one weekend, it was a Sunday, and a really bad case of the Sunday scaries, because I thought I was having an allergic reaction to something. My skin was really itchy. So I was just itching all over, itching my back, my arms. And then I looked at my back in the mirror, and saw that my entire back was covered in hives. And then it just worsened. So my arms broke out in hives, my legs broke out in hives. And I definitely thought I was having an allergic reaction. So I go to the doctor and they're like, "You're not having an allergic reaction, but what do you do for work?" Because this is totally stress induced. We'll give you something that will make the hives go away. And then the next week, I literally lost my voice. I got laryngitis. I couldn't speak. I had no other symptoms other than not being able to speak, which is kind of poetic in this way because they were trying to silence me from talking about things with them, and I couldn't speak. And this happened to me one other time when I was going through insane emotional stress. But it's like you're so right that you're as humans, that is probably one of the worst things that you can do. I mean, look at solitary confinement and means of torturing people. It is a tactic. And they do say, well, she didn't need to be in this meeting. Bullshit. Like, I'm sure they knew exactly what they were doing, but they had plausible deniability to say, well, she didn't need to be in this meeting.
And isolation has trickle down effects where it will make the victim act in ways that they like can't explain. Like
Yeah.
it's so like it's like the thing where, I mean, men do this all the time in their relationships, right? So like female spouse is angry, man gets silent, won't talk about anything, just completely boxes them out, and the female spouse starts doing aggressive or whatever, like
Yeah.
things that are like whatever, and the guy's like, "Yo, you are crazy," right? And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, the thing she did was outsized, but the thing
Hmm.
you engaged in, you knew that was gonna drive that behavior. It, with the isolation, it's the same thing. They're isolating a person of any gender, irrelevant, and that person will act out because they feel like they're in danger. They feel surrounded by danger at all times, and then they act out, and it's just like road rage, right? You have like you're driving 70 miles per hour, so like anything could kill you. So it's like, oh my god, adrenaline, isolation. You feel like you're in danger. You're filled
Yeah.
with adrenaline. Then you make an adrenaline fueled decision. You say or do a thing or raise your whatever it is, and they're like, whoa, Agatha, a little out of control there. I think you're gonna have to go. And it's like, and that's one way they get you.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's Agatha. Whoa, Agatha. I feel like poor Agatha is always driven to that place.
That's listen, poor Agatha. Um, wait, we got more here. We got so many stories today.
I know.
Um, oh boy, I have not yet read. I have to cop to this. The challenge of navigating U.S. employment law in 2025.
Yeah, I think this is our last one actually, but it talks about how it's going to come down a lot more to the states. So I wanted to get your thoughts on what because especially now with these with DEI programs being gutted, and I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago. But what, people could maybe bring more discrimination lawsuits, and then what are federal, state, what are going to be and it's so dependent on the person and their situation. But this article was saying that it's going to be more state focused because the federal entities might not be enforcing as much or
So let's start. If you are a trans person, this is true.
yeah.
Your federal rights have been diminished without question. Um, which is very important because many states do not offer those protections and do not view gender identity as a protected class. So
Mhm.
yes, let's set that group aside. It is a special group in that they have in many ways the least protections of anyone at all
Mhm.
nationwide. Enforcement by the federal government of any other protected class, any form of discrimination, is a joke. It does not happen. It happens.
Mhm.
Statistically speaking, it does not happen. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
80,000 cases in 2023, less than 80 cases, right? Like they just they don't engage in enforcement. They don't have the money. They don't really have the talented personnel. It is what it is. And if you do get selected for the EEOC to like litigate for you, it's like, is that good? I don't know.
Right.
You don't have to pay them, but also they don't really care what you want. So it's a bit of a situation.
Yeah.
Um, Also, the idea that it's more about states' rights or states' laws now, it always was because the federal laws have caps
Yeah.
that many states don't. Like, let's be honest, a case in California is worth 8x what a case in Arizona might be worth.
Hmm.
That's the reality because the way the law and the damage calculation is written. You're always going to deal with a soft cap on the federal level. Can you beat it? Sure. Easiest way to beat it. And
Hmm.
nobody would fail to do this. You file the federal case, you include the state claims and the local law claims all in one action. And you get to avail yourself of the advantages of all three sets. And that changes wildly from state to state. And that's why valuations are different from state to state. A case in California is worth double or more what it's worth in New York.
Hmm.
And then beyond that, it's downhill nationwide, almost everywhere from there.
Yeah.
So, you know, but that was always true. And the
Right.
laws on the federal level, unless you're dealing with a gender identity issue or discrimination on that basis, it should be clear, the laws on the federal level have not changed. Like the
Yeah.
statutes are still the same, the constitutional claims are still the same. DEI for federal contractors is gone.
Yeah.
How meaningful was that? I don't know, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of this, it's like, well, the laws haven't changed and Trump can't change them unless
Right.
he uses his
Do you think he'll
majority in
try?
Congress. What?
Do you think he'll try to change them?
I don't know how much he cares.
Yeah.
He also recently tried to do something. Oh, actually, it really floored me. It was very strange. So he did something for gay rights in the same week that he removed T from LGBTQ. And I
Mm,
was like, what a strange picking and choosing.
yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and then someone was kind of like, well, gay people have lots of money. I was like, oh, oh, like I couldn't figure it out. I was like, why?
And sometimes like no kids, two men's incomes,
Yeah,
and
and
like
we should specify, statistically speaking, it is gay men that have lots of money. Certainly there are
yeah,
many affluent lesbians and I'm sure bisexual people as well, and everything else, and
like
asexual people. Like, let's be inclusive. But like,
all the alphabets, all the
yes,
alphabet.
the there is an outsized amount of wealth held by the gay male community, and then when you think about that, you're like, oh, okay.
This
So
makes
if you
sense.
have money or you're perceived to have money, nobody cares what you do.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yep. I mean, look at Peter Thiel.
yep, yeah. Tell me more.
Craziest story I read about Peter Thiel that I wish was investigated a bit more, but his boyfriend committed suicide. And it was kind of covered, but not really. And um, I just, I remember there's an amazing interview you should look up. Feels like such old news, which is crazy because it was such a big deal. But the Luigi Mangione situation, when that all, when everything became public, Peter Thiel was interviewed and they were asking him what he thought about just the healthcare system. And he was just like, he had this look, he was like stunned. He couldn't speak, stunned into silence. Because I think no matter what he said, I don't even know why he took the interview, but something in him just looked so sinister how he was stunned because you could see his brain making all these calculations of what to say, what not to say. And like his eyes were just like hardened, like no, just black hole of eyes. And but yeah, the whole, and Sam Altman is gay. I mean, there are plenty of
Oh,
a lot of
I didn't know
powerful
that.
gay men.
There are no shortage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Please also never describe me like you just described Peter Thiel. Um, you can think it, but
I could never.
please.
You have way too much soul, Vince.
I don't know about that.
What?
Is that all of our stories?
I think that's it. I think we're
Have you noticed? So on that employment law story, are you like on top of this? Have you like been hearing other because you associate with many attorneys in our industry? Have you talked to the other people who are like, yeah, this is a problem? Like, am I crazy?
the employment lawyers. Which story? The
Well, the difficulties, all the changes Trump is enacting, new director of the EEOC, um, and taking out some of the enforcement mechanisms and the federal contractor DEI and the new NLRB directors. Like, are employment attorneys that you're speaking with like up in arms about this?
No, it's more so people in this space who are more like activist types. I don't think employment lawyers actually are that um, worried. I think whistleblower lawyers are a bit more worried that the government, because they're so dependent on the government for those
Yep.
cases
Yep.
and getting settlements. It's not like it's their settlements come from the government, not from the private company. So I
Yeah.
think whistleblower lawyers are a bit more concerned, but I think it's just people getting swept away by the narrative and feeling that our civil rights are going to be um, rolled back, and just the sound bites that are alarmist that have some truth to them, but they're more alarmist sound bites than not. But yeah, I think you know I would imagine I the second that I heard that DEI programs were being gutted, I wrote an op-ed about how sure, but discrimination lawsuits still exist and sexual harassment lawsuits. So people are like, that is a tool that people will always, at least I think in our lifetimes, be able to use. I mean, who knows what the future holds? These people definitely are a bit crazy, but I just think there are enough, you know, we're not heading into an area where no one can bring a lawsuit anymore,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware.
And to agree with your op-ed wholeheartedly, those enforcement mechanisms, the idea that the federales were going to come protect you, illusion,
Yeah.
sandcastle, just nonsense. Like, it was never going to happen,
Hmm.
ever, never in a million. And people will always call us up and be like, why should I pay you? The EOC is going to represent me. And it's like, yeah, good luck with that. 100%. Let me know how it works out. We'll be here when they kick you out with a right to sue letter. Because it's just not a thing. It exists, and the illusion of it existing is enough to confuse people. But like, Trump does not have the power, unless, I mean, I guess he used the Congress. The Congress certainly could, and he has a lot of control over Congress, but he can't do it unilaterally.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
All right, always fun. You need a rest. You sound
Yes.
low energy.
I have a 3 o'clock. It's just been crazy. And I think my book's about to sell. So
Oh my
that's
god,
exciting. We'll have
congratulations.
more news about that next week, according to
Can
my agent.
we link it for pre-order so you get the bestseller?
Eventually, I have to, it means I would get, by sell, I mean a publisher would give me an advance. There would be a published date, probably of like,
Oh,
I don't know, like early 2026.
okay.
It takes a long time to pitch a book. I've been pitching a book for, oh man, almost 8 months with my agent. And she emailed me yesterday and she was like, it looks like someone wants it. So
That's
um,
incredible.
we shall see.
Congratulations. Well
Thank you.
deserved.
Thank you. Okay, same time next week.
Same time next week. Everybody like, subscribe, comment down below, click the links, and see where Ari's stuff is and go buy her book. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.